Top of the feed, I trust and hope all is well with you and yours. Adding value to the volume, one episode at a time. This is Academ-ish, and I'm your host, Jeff Halliday. Academ-ish is a production of Tailspin Media. This work and all of it related to the podcast is separate from my teaching and contributions to Longwood University. Please like, subscribe, follow this content. You actually watch it video-wise on YouTube and Spotify. Of course, you can listen to it there. You can also listen to it on Apple and Amazon as well. Interact with the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. If I can survive the nightmare that is anonymous reviews on Rate My Professor, then I can work with your reviews and feedback in this space. We all know I'm your favorite teacher, but even if I'm not, 5 stars, please, 5 stars. Act like I am, okay? This episode continues our Farmville famous series with, to me, another one of the people I think are the most respected and beloved people in our community, and that is Mr. Cainan Townsend. Cainan's story is fascinating. He grew up here in the thriving metropolis that is Farm Vegas. He cares about this community a great deal. His family's story is one of resilience, and it's one of strength, and it's ongoing as he serves as the executive director of the Robert Russa Moton Museum. Cainan also serves on the local school board here. We talk about his family history, what led him to work at Moton, what he learned about that history and his own family's connection to it, why he entered the political realm, why he then left, and then went back into it. And we talk about a lot more as well. We actually recorded this conversation just prior to Thanksgiving. That's important context you'll hear later. I know you'll love learning about Cainan and the work that he does in our community. In our closing segment, Joyish, he talks about what is bringing joy and light into his life. And in typical Cainan fashion, it is deep, it is insightful, it is perspective providing, and it's pretty powerful stuff. So please enjoy this conversation with the Mr. Cainan Townsend. A lot of people know you now through your role as the executive director of the Robert Russa Moton Museum. You've been in that role since, 2023, I think, right? But you were an intern there over a decade ago. For people who don't know your story, Cainan, I think it's a very inspiring and a powerful one. And it's one that is truly invested in the Prince Edward County community in ways that I don't think people fully appreciate unless they get to know you. So would you talk a little bit about what your story is? And I do want to get to your family's legacy too, as it relates to Moton. But Cainan, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. Looking forward to this. And as soon as I knew you were doing a podcast, I was like, I gotta get on there somehow. So
Thanks,
I
sir.
appreciate this opportunity. I guess it makes most sense for me to start from the beginning. I know that sounds kind of asinine, I guess, in a way, but I was born in Southside Community Hospital before the Centra. Mom was a Longwood alum. My mom graduated from Longwood in 1987, and my dad was a lifelong resident of Prince Edward County. About 12 years age difference on their part. So my dad was 40 when I was born. So I
How does that make you think now as a father of 3? You're like, oh, I'm going to get back to that, but oh.
I barely have the energy at almost 32, so I can't even imagine at 40 what that must have been like. And I'm the youngest of 6, so it's not even like I was like his first or second. Like, no, I was number 6. And so grew up here in Prince Edward County, attended Prince Edward County Public Schools. Mom worked in the health department, dad was in law enforcement. So, both kind of active public front-facing roles in the community. I never really grew up thinking about this history all that much. My entry point into the history involved my father. So I always tell folks, never failed a grade, going through school. I was very proud of that, but I was always in summer school and I could never understand why. Like they always put me in summer school. And then I aged out of what I call voluntary summer school, which was summer school without failing the grade. And so my dad would then create homework for me to do over the summers. And I'm just like, Dad, like my friends are, riding four-wheelers and at summer camp and stuff. And I'm sitting at the kitchen table doing multiplication and division tables. And so it didn't make sense as a child, but as I got older, I realized like, oh, my father was impacted by the school closures. Dad was 6 when the schools closed. He was 11 when he went back as a first grader. And he would go through school and graduate at 21, but same age that I was when I graduated from undergraduate. So that really kind of framed things in a bit of a different way for me. So going through school, high school, I ended up wanting to go to Longwood because I decided I wanted to teach. Seemed like a very kind of stable position. There's always going to need teachers. and I didn't mind kids, and so it seemed like a natural fit. And so that kind of brought me to Longwood through the Call Me Mister program. And so came to Longwood, decided I didn't want to teach after I did want to teach. And that's what ended up landing me as an intern at the Moton Museum. So the first half of my history, which was the dad part, I knew about the school closures and all that, but I had no idea about the Brown v. Board part of it. In fact, I tell a story of, I was a freshman at Longwood in an Education 260 course, and they are talking about the five cases that made Brown. I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't know Brown was five cases, but let's explore this some more. And Topeka, Kansas, Wilmington, Delaware, Washington, D.C., and Prince Edward County, Virginia. And I was like,
Whoa.
Prince Edward County, like, is this Canada? Like, where are you talking about? It did not make any sense to me, but I was embarrassed because everybody knew I was from Farmville. And so they were like looking at me like, y'all, I don't know. We got to learn this together. And so that's kind of what first kind of introduced me to the earlier part of the history. And as an intern, that's when I learned about the other familial connection, which was my great aunts were strikers here in 1951, classmates of Barbara John's. And then them alongside my great grandfather were plaintiffs in the Davis case and subsequently Brown. So all of this is the brief version. I'm glad to kind of dive into any parts of that, but it's hard for me to believe in coincidence, right? Like I knew very little about the story. I came to college and learned a bit about it, ended up as an intern, and then my story kind of becomes a janitor to a CEO type narrative, right? From intern to part-time to full-time on an interim basis. Then I dropped the interim and then 7 years, seven titles, and now I'm executive director. So it just seems, I don't know, hard to believe in coincidence when it played out this way.
I think it's an incredibly inspiring story, and I do think it speaks a lot to your family's strength. The fact that it didn't come up. I do you have you kind of come back around to that with your family because I'm sure that was a unique, Thanksgiving or holiday conversation when you were like, yeah, and then everyone in the class turned and looked at me, and I just kind of said, I don't know. How has that been for you? Obviously, it's been a long time, but that was probably a unique series of conversations. And I'll just quickly say that for a lot of people in our community, particularly the white people in our community, they're like, oh, I mean that happened so long ago. That was and you're like, it's actually visceral. It exists now. To your point in your recent convocation speech, a lot of those heroes of that day, they're still with us, and some of them are not.
Right.
And I think there's a lot to unpack. And I can imagine for you as a college student to have to do that amongst your own family was pretty difficult.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I had some good mentors. I knew, and actually, ironically, just yesterday we had a memorial program for Reverend J. Samuel Williams.
Yes,
But
sir.
meeting him early, and he would always call me Brother Cainan Land, and I never had the heart to tell him that I'm a different Cainan than that than that Cainan. But so I just let him do it. But meeting him, and then Justin Reed, who was my predecessor in this role here at Moton, kind of really helped me to kind of compartmentalize some of those feelings about going from a predominantly black high school to a predominantly white institution and to be in these classes talking about the subject matter that I have direct connection to, but I had no concept of. So originally, I didn't really like talking about it, Jeff. I really was never really a sharer of kind of those familial connections. I spoke to my dad about it, consulted the family tree when I saw the names. And he's like, well, I don't really know. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know? So turns out my great grandfather actually died in 1952, and my dad was born in 53. So they technically never met. And so that just kind of, I speculate that just kind of was a part of our family history, just kind of got lost to time. And then when the schools closed, and nobody really was thinking about it at that point. Um,
Mm.
my dad and his three eldest siblings, and then myriad of cousins, and then, so there became kind of a family crisis. So that's why I speculate we don't talk about it. But in a way, I've kind of become the family historian, and I have to tell people like that doesn't mean I do genealogy. I'm actually quite bad at genealogy, but a lot of folks kind of look to me to be, the family orator in a way to share and to pass down, that spoken word, that oral history tradition. And I really value that, telling my girls stories about kind of from what my grandparents told me and kind of growing up with them. I don't know. It's really evolved, and I've really kind of embraced this role as a storyteller. That's kind of what I see a lot of my work as.
I'm glad that you have, and I think that your story, I understand the hesitancy, right? To your point about why would a family want to talk about anything that painful, right? I get it, but I do think that story represents a lot of stories in our community. So I think your embracing of that is a generational of generational importance. Let me just say that.
For sure.
So now you're Mr. Fancy Pants. You've had all those titles, right? So executive director now. What are some of the challenges that you see the Moton Museum facing in your current role? So this is, I guess, year two plus, right? So now you're probably still coming into that executive director role in some ways, right? Because it's an ever evolving need for that position. But some of the challenges that you think Moton is facing now, Kanan, and what you guys are trying to do to meet those.
Yeah, so of course, let me start with the elephant in the room, and that's we talk about a history that some people don't like us talking about, and that part of that is um, people calling what we do DEI and before CRT and all of this firebrand kind of terminology to, don't talk about the history that makes us feel bad. We are very lucky, I will say. My predecessors did an excellent job of making sure that our entire exhibition and kind of by byproduct, our programming is all based on primary sources. So when you come to see our exhibit, you see primary source documents, founding documents, direct quotes, firsthand photography, right? Like there's not speculative content really in there. If you leave thinking that Harry Bird was a good person, then you probably didn't read very closely. But we're not going to beat you over the head with it either.
Right.
So I've appreciated kind of how this exhibit has aged, and it's really allowed us to operate in a pretty good, kind of a good faith way.
A lot of forethought to your point.
Yes, I think, and I got to give a shout out to Lacey Ward Jr. because I mean, incredible how this has aged. And we've had Moton has kind of become a spot where kind of these statewide elections, the politicos kind of come to take a trip. So, back in for the VP debate, Tim Kaine visited the museum right before he took the stage. In 2017, at the time, Lieutenant Governor Northam came. His opponent, Ed Gillespie, like we've had kind of this is just a spot kind of in the South Side for folks
Yeah,
to
you shake a lot of hands, my friend. I shake a lot of
well,
hands. Just a couple recently too.
I'm just proud that people see Moton as a place that's important to visit
Yes.
on both sides of the aisle, and I think
Yes.
that's really, really important. Now, the worry that I have, because Barbara Jones in the Moton story is kind of a darling in Virginia right now, right? So,
Just got mentioned by the newly elected or governor-elect, I suppose. Yes.
and Barbara got more cheers than Jefferson and Washington did. So I was like,
They,
yeah,
they didn't get any. They
it
didn't get
was,
any.
I'm trying to be generous, Jeff. Yes, but Barbara Johnson, this history is a darling in Virginia right now. But I'm very kind of cognizant and aware of the fact that people can co-opt the narrative quite easily, romanticizing kind of the civil rights era and and the nonviolent protests of the past, romanticizing them and kind of using that to take credit away from kind of current contemporary movements. So I'm very cautious of their story and very cautious of the family. And so I'm always trying to be very deliberate about the way I talk about the history and the spaces that I'm in. But overall, in a very good place. Other challenges, I mean, funding, I think kind of a byproduct that, and this is something I don't hear a ton of people talking about, but when the federal cuts happened, that was obviously very devastating. But I think as a byproduct of that, people who uh, have faith in the federal government or systems, like we see individual donors also on a pretty steady decline, right? Like, because if the government is saying that this is not a priority to donate to, that kind of reverberates down,
And
not in every
and
population, but it
and they're
for us,
concerned about the markets. They're concerned about whether or not they can still invest.
yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, inflation and all the financial issues. I mean, it's just tough time for everybody. And I'm of the mindset, like if you can give a dollar to Faces or give a dollar to Moton, send a dollar to Faces. Like one, the community needs that service more, and two, like they can stretch that dollar farther than we can. And so that's tough. We're lucky we've got some good partners. Of course, the partnership with Longwood. We're doing some more work with Hampton Sydney these days. Like, so we're in a good position, but I think about long term, what it looks like. But for the most part, outside of those few challenges, I mean, the future is bright. December 16th, the Barbara John statue will go up in Statuary Hall in Washington, D.C. So you can plug this as a first time I've said this publicly. Um,
Okay, breaking news yet again. Here we go. Here we go.
If anybody deserves my inside scoop, it's you, Jeff.
Thank you.
So December 16th, the statue will go up, and then 2026, it's the 75th anniversary of the strike. It's the 25th anniversary of the museum opening up, and we'll be putting in a lot of work in 2026 because in 2027, UNESCO meet, and we will be finally reviewed as a potential World Heritage Site, which would mean we'll be in the same conversation as the pyramids of Giza and the Great Wall of China and the Great Barrier Reef, right? So we definitely have our challenges, but the future also looks very bright. So I'm pleased for kind of how the community is kind of rallying behind this place.
I think that's awesome. And I do hope that people who listen to this, watch this, as you said before we started, put this in their pocket while they're doing laundry. I'm doing the dishes and listening to podcasts myself, so I'm with you on that one. But I do hope if they're inspired by anything that you said, that they read into the Moton Museum, that they come and visit it. It is powerful, and I can remember what it looked like years and years ago. You mentioned Mr. Ward. I can remember all of the work that was done then. It is, I would call it a singular experience, regardless of your familiarity with civil rights history, because it's real, right? It's grounded, and to your point, it doesn't. When I've been through several tours, several different times, it never feels forced. It just feels factual, like, and that's history. So I do hope that folks that listen, to your point, give a dollar where it's most needed in their community, and if you've got an extra one, send it to the Robert Russell Moton Museum. Um, your list of accolades are long. I would encourage people to look them up. Task Force here, Young Alumni Awards there, whatever. No, you're very impressive, sir. I will quickly say that I think I met you when you were a sophomore at Longwood, and I hated you because how dare someone so young be so well put together and yeah, like grounded. I guess I just used that word, but I'll use it again. You were a very impressive person then. You remain so now. One of the decisions that I think you made that you didn't have to, but I think was really impactful, was to go for public service as a member of the Prince Edward County School Board. You were part of the first ever elected board in 2017, and then you came back around to be reelected again in 2023. But I want you to go back to 2016, 2017, Cainan. What led you to that decision to run for the school board? I'm sure there was some pressure, some requests, right? Because obviously people know you. But what led to it initially, Cainan? I do want to ask you how you feel about it now, so many years later. But what led you to it initially, Cainan?
Yeah, so running for gosh, 2016 seems like such a long time. I mean, I guess it is
Yes,
almost 10
sir.
years, but
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. Like I've always when was already kind of invested in the schools, like I had a big old chip on my shoulder at Longwood because let's just say the culture in the College of Education was a little bit different at that point in time, to be perfectly blunt. I've got many I would never send a student to go in Prince Edward County Public Schools, and I would be like, why? And they're like, well, because this is that, this is happening, that's happening, and accreditation. And I'm like, okay, what you're describing is the wire. I graduated from that school last year, so like what you're saying is not true. Like certainly some
Right.
people smoked in the bathroom, but outside of that, it really was just pretty much a normal high school experience for the most part. Because I
And,
didn't,
and by the way, where do you think your graduates are going? They're going to go to schools that look like Prince Edward.
yeah, I mean
It's
that's
fine.
that's what the world looks like, right? You can't
Yes.
insulate them from an entire population. Like in an undergraduate experience, you should be encouraging them to experience those type of environments. But I guess the big thing for me there was that I didn't present if I was from Prince Edward County, which also annoyed me
Mm.
because most people are like, "You're from here?" I'm like, "Yes," and really, I'm like, "Yeah, born here, raised here, like I lived my whole life here." But I remember when the petition was being circulated because we had to put a referendum on the ballot
Right.
to even enable us to have elected school boards anyway. it was a group in the community that had some Longwood faculty and staff and some other community members that were really pushing for that. And I remember kind of following it and thinking like, well, maybe if that sorts out, I'll put my hat in the ring, right? I looked at our elected officials at the time, and a lot of people I knew, like my uncle Wesley, not blood uncle, but he was a sheriff, like my cousin Jerry Townsend's on the board of supervisors, like my former principal, Dr. Pratt, like, but there wasn't like all those people are older than me by 40 plus years and in some cases, right? And so there
I
wasn't
was
like,
gonna say you were bringing the median age down a lot. Like
oh
a
yeah,
lot.
outlier. And so I decided, I'm like, well, maybe if that happens, I just will go ahead and throw my hat into the ring. And so the referendum did pass, and I had some of my professors that I had spoken with, and they kind of encouraged me. But then the hardest part, honestly, Jeff, was like compartmentalizing this feeling of like, because I worked in history, right? And like I knew I would be like the youngest ever elected school board member at 24, 23, however old I was at that point. Um, but I'm also going to be serving in a body that once denied my own father an education, right? Like that, trying to compartmentalize and juggle those
Mm.
feelings was kind of was odd, and it was heavier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just be like I'm not even going to think about it, but it was all I thought about at first. And to be the first, one of the four first ever elected school board members, and the youngest in the county. And what Virginia School Board Association said, like you were the youngest in the state at one point. Um, I don't know. It was powerful because I never really wanted to be the first anything. I don't really I tend to think that good things don't happen to the people who are the firsts. Powerful stories come out of it, but I was like, I never want to be the first. But
I don't want to be a martyr. Yes, I get it.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But I don't know. Like I decided that I wanted to do it, and at the time too, there was this issue, and you can go back in the Farmville Herald and look if you're bored. But there's this issue of a block versus period scheduling. Uh,
Yep.
so the high school do block scheduling, which is 4 a day, and they change every semester or 7 classes throughout the whole year. Uh, and then the Herald like covered the school boards like on the front page talking about this drama. So there was also this undercurrent of like, well, Canaan's a rational human being and reasonable and deals in logic. And I was like, thanks. And so I was really kind of getting pushed from both sides.
Yeah.
People who philosophically were to the far left and the far right saying we need somebody like Cainan. So that's kind of what eventually was like, all right, I'm gonna put all my stuff aside. I'm gonna compartmentalize these feelings, and I'm gonna go and be a part of it. And in our first meeting in January 2017 or
Yep.
18, I think I ran in 17.
Ran in 17, so it would have been 18. Okay.
January 2018. Wait. Anyways, that January,
We'll
that
look it
first,
up. We'll
yeah.
look it up. So it
Sorry, my
came up right
memory,
away. Right away.
my memory. We handled the first meeting. Like it
Yeah.
was really like I was like, as a school board, are we operations or are we policy? And they're like policy. I said, okay. Whether we do blocks or periods sounds like operations. So we should let the person we pay a lot of money decide this. And that's what happened. And it was done. And I was like, what was the issue? Why were we arguing so much about but understanding your role, I think was something like I'm a stickler for Robert's rules. Like I'm a stickler for structure. So I don't know. I think I brought that to the board at that point. Now, do you want me to reflect on it now too? I know I've been rambling probably for a few minutes.
No, no, you weren't rambling at all. And I think again, I'm just trying to think about, like you said, at that age, you walk in there, you bring that up, and everybody goes, "Oh, good point. Are we cool? All right." And then you're like, okay, well, I guess I delivered on my campaign promise in some way, shape, or form. Let's go. And then you're like, is that the most exciting thing that's going to happen? And I know it's not. But maybe reflect now. So that was 2017, 2018, like you said. What are your feelings about public service now? I think it takes a lot of courage to serve publicly in any capacity. I think it comes with a series of challenges that only people who have served in that role know truly, and I'm one that has not, to be very clear. But what are your thoughts on public service now? And you're back in that school board position again, reelected again in 2023. So maybe how have those thoughts changed?
Yeah, I thought that I got out at the right time, not in the sense that I'm like I wish I'd completed my term, but I stepped down from the first term. I was in grad school full time, was working full time, was a new dad, And then Candace decided, my wife, we decided she was going back to work and she was commuting. And so I was like, all right, I gotta doing too much. Would love to continue, but there's no way I can manage.
And
So
I know that weighed on you heavily, like
yeah,
heavily.
because I didn't want, yeah, I really didn't want to resign. Like it meant a lot to me, but I was like, I'm already halfway through grad school. I'm not going to drop that. Like I can always come back later. So I kept the door open. So resigned in 2018, and then really even in a more kind of polarized kind of political climate, I was getting Tea Party folks and Antifa both kind of like, Cainan, you should run and be back on the school board. We need you. I was like, whoa. So I decided to run as a write-in this time, and I had moved, so I was in a new district, but got 98% of the vote, like 84 write-ins, and that means 84 people had to spell my name right, which is the most impressive thing.
I mean, truly.
Probably, probably of that.
How many people of Canaan land were voted? I
There are
voted for
probably
you.
like
Maybe you did. Maybe you did. I don't know. I'll never find out.
7 or 8 CANAANs in there.
That's right.
Um, but
At least they know their Bible. Good for them.
yeah, um, it was interesting coming back. It was a very different board. It was more tense coming back than it was the first time, but I thought it was very important. But I just was grateful that I still have an employer that sees the value in me doing the work. I'm still the youngest on the board by a significant amount, but I felt I still had a lot to contribute, even though I am, the junior in the room. Coming back, Jeff, was interesting because there was this very strong, I'll be very careful, but like racial divide, like,
Yeah.
4 black members or 4 white members. And I think all the meetings are recorded. Like our first meeting in 2024 was for chair. And so we had,
I sat in some, you see me in there before for local scouting events and stuff like that, or going with my kids, and it was tense in a way that I did not anticipate, and I thought I was a pretty ignorant citizen locally to not be familiar with it. But I would agree, even just sitting in the room, it was difficult.
it was weird. And our first vote was for chair, and it was 4 black members voting for the black chair, and 4 white members voting for the white chair. And because we have an even number, any tie motion is a dead vote. You just can't proceed. And literally, like we don't have to have a vice chair, but we do have to have a chair to literally legally operate as a board in the Commonwealth. So we were just like at a kind of a dead rubber, until one of the people stepped away. Uh, but that was tough. And then there was the superintendent thing. Like things were in a rough spot, and they were in a rough place. And so we had to make a very, very tough series of decisions. And eventually our superintendent did resign. And so we had to do a superintendent search, which added far more gray hairs than I had anticipated, and by far is the toughest thing I've ever had to do with regards
Mm.
to public service. And I don't want to do it again. But if we came away with Chip Jones, who was a phenomenal superintendent, came out of Cumberland, but already lived in Prince Edward County. And things have really been on the up and up since then. So my first go around on the board was really kind of stabilizing, right? Trying to be a stabilizing presence. But this kind of era on the school board has really kind of been about blazing the trail to move forward. Approved a $44 million renovation to the elementary school, which is long overdue, and I'm ecstatic about it. Of course, hiring Chip, and all the changes that kind of come with that. Now we know that we have a new administration in January, and so kind of some of the Department of Education, standards and accreditation might be a little bit different next year. So I don't know, it's been interesting kind of how this phase has been a lot different than the first, but looking back, I am glad that I decided to return. But I really just hope my involvement, and again, grateful to my employer for understanding how important this is and understanding that rising tide lifts all ships, and a good public school system means a good higher education system. But I hope that me being on the school board can show people that you can be involved even if it's difficult. I've got three at home. I know you have 4, obviously, and life is chaotic, right? When you get above 2, 8, 4, and 2, and I am 31 and I'm working full time and all the appointments. And so it's like trying to but like I hope that I'm showing that it's possible if you try hard enough, like you can be a good dad, you can be a good employee, and you can be a good public servant. the thing at Longwood was like, how long can you make your email signature, right? Like, I don't want to. I'm trying to get out of that phase of just having a lot of stuff that like, oh yeah, I went to one meeting, so I'm involved.
Yeah.
I want
I'm
to
a
be
member.
yes. I signed the paper at the involvement fair. No, I'm trying to be, invested in like I'm a big proponent of like pick three things and be good at them, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a good dad. I'm trying to be a good employee. I'm trying to be a good public servant. Like those are kind of my three. And dad slash husband slash family member.
Yeah.
Candace
Good,
is.
good, good, good job there. Good job fixing that.
She's off. She's standing over there. You can't see her. She's
I'll allow it, but no. One of the best pieces of advice my father ever gave me, and he's given me a lot of them, was he said, if you want to be a good father, you need to start by being a good spouse. You need to start by being a good husband. He said, if you can't honor that relationship, a lot of the other things become a lot more difficult. And I wasn't in a place where I needed the advice. Like things weren't bad, or I don't want my wife to be like, "When the hell did he tell you that? Like yesterday?" Uh, but it was just a good reminder of where all that comes from. So recently, at the November school board meeting, you recommended and the board approved naming the gym floor after Coach James Scott and the track facility after Coach James Baker. Talk about your love of this community, your love for this place and space. People like Coach Scott and Coach Baker, they continue to have an ongoing impact in this community. Why was that so important to you? And I think the timing of it was well received as well. So just want to talk about that process and maybe what you've heard back from the community.
that is one of the proudest moments that I've had being a part of the school board. I mean, I think that's up there with the elementary renovation and hiring Chip. Um, that was so long overdue. I mean, Coach Scott taught me how to drive. Coach Baker ran track for him for 2 or 3 years, indoor track. And my sister ran indoor, outdoor all 4 years. So both have just had such a profound impact, and so often we wait until people are not around to smell the flowers to honor them. And so the idea came up, Ms. Sherby Scott Brown really started that process. But for me as a person who works in public history, I'm like, yes, we need to let people smell their flowers while they can. And two people who have put in 40 plus years, like they're not built like them anymore. And Coach Scott, coaching multiple sports, same with Coach Baker, Coach.
Coach Scott is still coaching girls tennis last spring,
Mhm.
still going.
Still going, and then getting an ice cream truck, and then
Yeah,
mostly, I know he doesn't make a lot, probably any money off of that because he gives out so much for free.
right.
Coach Baker driving the school bus, get a CDL
Yes.
to drive the bus just because like the shortage, and like it's both of them are just outstanding, and I think a testament to who we are here in Prince Edward County. And so this is the kind of stuff I live for. Like my favorite part of any school board meeting are the awards and recognition section. Like, yeah, adjournment is a close second, but just kidding. But like the awards and recognition section by far is my favorite because we get to highlight so much of the good that's happening with our students and with our community. Because the issue I've had for years, Jeff, is that people look at Prince Edward County Public Schools again like this is like the wire, like this is a terrible failing institution. We have our problems. We could perform better on standardized testing, absolutely, but like our students are outstanding and they're doing some outstanding work. We've got amazing teachers there. We've got amazing administrators. Like, and again, things aren't perfect, and we've got a teacher shortage, and we've got some positions to fill. But um, don't when all you do is talk negatively about these schools. I mean, you're affecting these students' self-worth. They're thinking that the product that they're getting is less than, and it's not. Like we've had students go to Notre Dame and Harvard and Princeton and UVA. Like we have some phenomenal graduates, and we've had some phenomenal students who don't go to 4 year colleges, coming straight out of college and going to Southside and taking your HVAC course, and now you're making close to six figures. Like this is a great place if you let it. And so I just hate that people let the reputation, go against them. And so I'm always going to try to be a champion for this place and advocate for people to go there.
And I do think, as part of some of the exciting things that you discussed earlier, obviously a incredibly much needed renovation, right, to the elementary school. And I know people who are in our community, like myself and like you, they'll say, "All right, middle school. high school. We're not done, right? There's more work to be done, but there needs to be a culture shift in the way we think about public education in our community and embracing it as members of the community, and that includes the institutions of America's oldest two college town. Personally, I know a lot of people that are going to be listening and following this know this. For me, my wife and I are public school people. Our children are in the public schools and have had very good experiences and at times amazing experiences. And when it hasn't been amazing, you know what it's been? It's been school. Like school, growing up in a public social setting, some of the struggles that come with it. So I appreciate the fact that you've poured back into it. I think we need other people to continue to do the same, and we need community investment in our children in really meaningful ways. So I appreciate all that you're saying there, and I just wanted to concur with what you're saying. You have any other exciting things that are coming up from the school board stuff? I mean, you mentioned a whole bunch of stuff. What other things? You just did this. You said was one of the proudest moments. What's
Yes.
next, you think?
Well, now we're getting into the budget, and so we know that's always
I said exciting, Cainan. I said exciting.
what's more fun than balancing out your checkbook? No. It's been an interesting year, with the cell phone changes, and
Yeah.
the state certainly is prioritizing kind of mental health. We're launching a new telehealth program that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is really going to be a great supplement to the services that are already being offered. We've had a great connection with Fulcrum Counseling, which has really helped to supplement as well, the kind of full-time school counselors. But in terms of other big things, I mean, really just next year, just excited for all the anniversaries. Like
Yeah, right.
next year, the Mary Branch building across the street will be 100 years old, which is probably one of the oldest schools in the county, formerly in the county system. Next year is also the 100th anniversary of Negro History Week, which of course becomes Black History Month. So figuring out how to celebrate that and commemorate that at the schools. And of course, maybe we get some people to DC to see this beautiful statue because it's the 75th anniversary of the strike. And so between that and trying to do some stuff with VA 250, the semi-quincentennial, I think it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of stuff happening and a lot of excitement. And Prince Edward County should have some good things on the horizon.
I do think, to your point in our conversation earlier, like Barbara John's getting that massive pop when her name was mentioned by the governor-elect just demonstrates, I think, the success that the Moton Museum has had in telling that story. Because I don't know if 10 or 15 years ago,
Yeah.
that is a name that is recognized by people across the Commonwealth. I just don't think it is. So I'm excited for what's coming up. And again, those anniversaries celebrate difficult but important parts of our history. There's going to be a lot of Longwood people, I think, they're going to watch this, not for me, only for you. You've been here, right? So how has this community changed since you were a student here? Because a lot of, like, we just had homecoming, right? So a lot of people come back and they're walking around, and there's the people that are walking around looking for the Cunninghams, and they're gone. There's people that are coming back to go to McAdoo's solely, right? But how has the community changed? Maybe from your perspective, as somebody who's been embedded in this community from jump, how has it changed, and what are the things that you share with them when they come back?
I think this place has gotten better, honestly. I think Prince Edward is aging very well, even though our population is declining a bit. But I think it's a good time to be here. I think there's plenty of stuff to do. I think there's a very, very kind of diverse set of business enterprises and restaurants that just wasn't the case. Of course, we still have the three state parks, we get the two museums, but like there's a lot happening on any given weekend. Take a look at Farmville now. Just look at the gigantic list of stuff that's happening. It's a great place to have a family, and it was back in the day too. I think what's amazed me, and not a lot of people know this, not that it's a traumatic thing I'm hiding, but like, in first grade, I think I was in first grade, my house burned down. So I used to live on South Bridge Street in Farmville. And the house next door caught on fire, and the wind kind of whipped and blew that fire onto the house that we were in. Um, didn't burn completely down because it was brick, but like I don't have a lot of baby pictures and such because of it. And I just remember like the whole community just kind of coalescing around us. Like I remember them wrapping us up like a blanket metaphorically. I remember getting a lot of stuff from a lot of people who I'd never seen or met before, and it just I don't know, just until I got older, like I was like, maybe I don't think that happens everywhere, right?
I don't think so either.
Like drives and stuff, and people want to support people. But like I just don't think that happens everywhere. So that's that feeling I still have here today, and I think that that's probably the most amazing thing for me that it's been so long, and I still feel like this is a special place that truly cares about its people. We're very unique. Our issues are similar to some other places, but how we deal with them I don't know, it's very uniquely Prince Edward County. And sometimes that makes me want to smack my head against the wall, but sometimes I'm like, I would not trade our issues for any county, any other part of Virginia because we handle ours. And I see people who are very philosophically different, eating dinner together and going to church together and Bible study. And I don't know, just kind of gives me hope for the future, kind of gives me hope for fixing what's happening at the statewide and federal levels. Like just look at what Prince Edward County is doing, right? We can if we can repair relationships here in Prince Edward County, then I think that can probably be true pretty much anywhere. So living here for as long as I have, I'm really happy that my kids like it here. They've got a great kind of group of friends and they've got a great community. Um, I just hope that we can, as a community, just figure out, grapple with this identity kind of crisis that Farmville, Prince Edward County is having, like small town charm, but like we need places for people to live. Like
Yeah.
we need places that people can
We
live.
need businesses, we need jobs, we need housing.
Yes. Absolutely. And if we don't, like, then yeah, we're not going to be so shocked if our population keeps dwindling. I think a lot about Selma, Alabama, where the Pettus Bridge is, and they've got like 17,000 residents, something like that. There's no industry, like, it's a lot of boarded up buildings. Like, people come, they take their picture on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and then they turn around and they go an hour to Montgomery, where like everything is. They don't stay, they don't like give back, and it's so sad because such an iconic fixture of the civil rights movement. And I think about Farmville, I'm like, well, if we don't think that that could be us, if we could be Radiator Springs, right? Then we got another thing coming. So figuring out how to sustain this community and be a place where everybody can be is I think is a something I think about a lot for the future. But we have it right, like in the notion of like if we build it, they will come. We got it, a lot of it. A few things we need to work on, but like this can be a great place for people for the future.
And I would encourage people to come back and see those differences and know that you're still going to have that feeling of family and feeling of being home. And I'm pretty sure that anyone who has a young child appreciated your Cars reference. I got it. I'm with you. And I can tell you, like, you mentioned our four kids. Our oldest is 19. And when she comes back, I think she has a true appreciation for growing up here,
Yeah.
truly, right? In just recognizing the love that this community has
Yep.
for the people in it. It is special. I want to wrap up with the last thing. So, Academ-ish, but here's Joy-ish, a segment where I want to ask you to just briefly tell us something that brings joy and light into your life. And I believe you mentioned earlier that you're significantly superior spouse is nearby, so you better be real careful here. Because if you mention like some video game or something, it's going to be a very, very bad Thanksgiving for you. So something that's bringing joy and light into your life, Mr. Townsend.
Yeah, November, just the month of November, there's just a lot of birthdays, anniversaries, and such. So, some good, some bad, but it's been what is grief but love persisting in the words of Vision from WandaVision. Um,
Amen.
you know,
Amen.
13 years since my eldest brother passed away, which made me reflect on a lot. But November generally, my youngest's birthday, my eldest's birthday, my birthday, birthday of a dear friend, J. Samuel Williams, me and my a good friend Mickey Carrington share a birthday. My boss's birthday is in November. So November, and then Thanksgiving, which is probably my favorite holiday.
Mine too. Mine too.
Honestly, the food, like it's undefeated.
Yes.
I'm not a good gift person. Otherwise, it would be Christmas. But I do listen to Christmas on November 1st. I am that person. So that's another thing bringing me joy. And to anybody listening who challenges me, name a Thanksgiving song. And thank you very much.
Wow.
So honestly, just my kids growing up, like they're 8, 4, and 2 now, which is like so weird. But growing up to be beautiful young ladies. I'm getting older, but still, feeling good. Feeling pretty relatively in shape, but and not super achy. I'm just grateful. Like I'm just super grateful for my unit and my folks and the chance to kind of celebrate. Because it's been a tough year. It's been a very difficult 11 months or so. But the future looks bright for us as well. Uh, a lot of good things kind of coming down the pike. And so November, the month of November is the thing bringing me joy right now and more to look forward to in the next couple of weeks.
Well, God bless you, Cainan. Keep doing the work and know that it is appreciated. And I truly, sincerely appreciate you giving me time from my heart. Thank you, Cainan. Thank you.
I am honored. If you ever need anything else, please let me know. But thank you for having me and hope you and your family are well also. And I cannot believe that she is 19 years old. That makes me sick.
Yeah, what did you say? 8, 4, and 2?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, try 19, 18, 14, and 11. It will be all right. It will be all right. It will be all right. Enjoy every day. And I will quickly share that everyone's like, enjoy these moments. They're so precious. I am enjoying them, and I enjoyed them before.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, when you get to meet the adult version of your kids, especially your kids, thanks to your wife's leadership and your occasional presence, just kidding, just kidding. When you meet the adult version of them, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's worth every bit of it. Would I want to rewind time? Hell no, sir. No, I don't want to rewind time. I did it. I did my best in that moment, and now I get to see them at this stage. It's awesome. So keep leaning into it. I know you're great at it, and thank you again.
Appreciate you, my friend.
Yes, sir. My thanks again to Mr. Cainan Townsend. Stop what you're doing right now, by the way. Go Google Longwood Convocation 2025. You'll find the entire ceremony on YouTube. Cainan has about a 10-minute speech in there, and it's just awesome. It's incredibly inspiring. Again, perspective providing. It's powerful. He gets a standing ovation. What can I say? The man is good. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation. And thank you again to Cainan. Follow our socials to get all the details on when our next episode drops. I know you'll love it. And until then, I encourage you to listen to Mr. Cainan Townsend. Give back with an effort to sustain your community. Give back. Work to bring people together, right? Build those bridges and know that other people will stand alongside you. Thanks for joining me in the adventure that is Academ-ish. I'm your host, Jeff Halliday. We'll see you next time.